Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare Lincoln wheat pennies coin that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today, we're diving into a little copper coin with a big story, one that could be hiding in your pocket change or your grandfather's old coin jar. It's none other than the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny from the United States of America. Now, before you think, it's just a penny, think again. Because by the end of this video, you'll see why one of these seemingly ordinary coins sold for a mind-blowing amount. And if you stick around, we'll reveal exactly how much, and what makes that specific penny so incredibly valuable. Trust me, you do not want to miss that number. So sit back, relax, and let's explore the world of one of the most iconic and underrated coins in U.S. history. First, let's rewind the clock to the year 1941. The world was in turmoil, World War II was raging across Europe, and the United States was just months away from joining the fight. On the home front, American life was filled with uncertainty and change, and money, quite literally, was tight. Yet during this turbulent time, the U.S. Mint continued striking coins for daily commerce, including the humble 1-cent piece known as the Lincoln wheat penny. Millions were produced that year across 3 different mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. And because of the large mintage, most people assume the 1941 penny is common and not worth a second glance. But here's where things get interesting: not all 1941 pennies were created equal. While most are indeed common, a select few were struck with rare minting errors, tiny mistakes that turned an ordinary penny into a collector's dream. And if you're lucky enough to have one of these rare error coins in excellent condition, it could be worth a small fortune. So, what kinds of errors should you be looking for? Let's start with one of the most well-known types: double die errors. These occur when the coin is struck more than once with a slightly shifted die, causing the design elements to appear doubled. On the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny, doubling can appear on the date, Liberty, or the words "In God We Trust." If you notice a clear doubling in these areas under magnification, you might just have one of the most valuable versions of this coin. Another type of error to watch for is an off-center strike, where the design is noticeably misaligned. These coins are visually striking and highly sought after, especially if the date remains visible. Even a minor off-center error can dramatically increase the penny's value. Then there's the rare planchet error, where the coin is struck on the wrong metal blank. Although this is extremely rare for 1941, such mistakes are known to happen, and when they do, collectors will pay a premium, sometimes tens of thousands, to own one. Let's not forget the repunched mint marks. On coins struck in Denver or San Francisco, the mint mark was punched by hand. Sometimes, the mint mark was punched more than once, slightly misaligned each time. These RPM errors, repunched mint marks, are subtle, but to the trained eye, they're worth a lot. Now, condition matters too. A coin in circulated condition, with scratches, wear, and discoloration, might only be worth a few cents to a few dollars. But a 1941 penny in uncirculated condition, meaning it looks almost brand new, with sharp details and original luster, can sell for hundreds or even thousands. Add an error on top of that? Now you're talking serious money, and that brings us to the collectors, the heartbeat of the coin world. To them, the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny is more than just copper and zinc. It's a story frozen in time. A coin that's been through pockets, piggy banks, and decades of American history. For a collector, discovering a rare variety or error in a coin so widely assumed to be ordinary is like striking gold. That's the thrill. That's the magic. And that's why this coin, so small and so common on the surface, can become an object of deep desire and intense bidding wars. So, how much could a rare 1941 Lincoln wheat penny actually sell for? Here it is, the moment you've all been waiting for. One such coin, in pristine condition and featuring a rare minting error, was sold for $89,000. Yes, you heard that right. $89,000, for a single penny. Incredible, isn't it? That just goes to show you, treasure can be hiding in the most unexpected places. A coin you find at a flea market, in an old drawer, or in your childhood coin collection could be worth a fortune if it has the right mix of rarity, error, and condition. So what are you waiting for? Go check your change jars, search those old coin albums, and take a closer look at every Lincoln wheat penny you come across. You never know when you might be holding a small piece of history worth more than you ever imagined. Top 2, we're diving into one of the most iconic and sought-after coins in American history, the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny. It might look like just another penny in your change jar, but trust me, there's much more to this small coin than meets the eye. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting your coin journey, you'll want to stick around for this one. You might just have a hidden treasure without even knowing it. The Lincoln wheat penny has been part of American currency since 1909, but the 1950 edition stands out for a number of reasons. First, let's talk about the context. The year 1950 was a time of post-war optimism in the United States, a period of economic growth and technological progress. People were moving away from the hardships of the Great Depression and World War II, and a new era of prosperity was unfolding. The coins that were minted during this time, including the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny, offer a unique snapshot of this pivotal moment in history, but here's where things get interesting. While the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny was struck in large numbers, it is far from being just another ordinary coin. There are certain rare varieties and errors that make the 1950 penny one of the most intriguing coins for collectors. In fact, if you have the right version of this penny, it could be worth far more than you would expect. In some cases, these coins have sold for incredible amounts. But let's hold off on revealing the shocking price just yet. Let's dive into the details first. The Lincoln wheat penny, as the name suggests, features an image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, designed by Victor David Brenner. But on the reverse side, you'll find the famous wheat stalks, which give the coin its wheat designation. The design is simple yet powerful, paying homage to Lincoln's legacy and the agricultural roots of the United States. However, what truly makes the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny special are the minting errors and unique characteristics that some of these coins exhibit. The most significant of these errors is the double die variety. This error occurs when the die that strikes the coin makes contact with the planchet multiple times, causing the design to appear doubled. This can happen on the date, the word liberty, or even on "In God We Trust." If you find a 1950 penny with clear doubling, it's a huge find for any collector. These pennies are extremely rare, and their value skyrockets due to the demand from collectors eager to add them to their collections. Next, there's another sought-after variation of the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny known as the repunched mint mark. The mint mark on the 1950 pennies struck in Denver, D, is particularly prone to being repunched, creating a slight overlap in the mint mark. This error is subtle, but if you can spot it, it can add a significant premium to the coin's value. RPMs, or repunched mint marks, are among the most desirable errors for coin collectors because they're a direct result of human error at the mint, making each one unique. Now, let's not forget about the high-grade condition of these coins. Most pennies that were circulated in 1950 have been through countless pockets, purses, and cash registers, which means they show signs of wear. A 1950 Lincoln wheat penny in uncirculated condition, meaning it looks almost brand new, can be extremely valuable. The key to a coin's value is its condition, so if you happen to find one of these pennies in mint condition, it could be worth much more than its face value, but the real showstopper comes with the 1950 D mint mark. You see, while the 1950 penny was produced in large numbers, the 1950 D, minted in Denver, is particularly rare. What makes it so special is the combination of its rarity and high demand. Only a limited number of these coins were struck, and finding one in uncirculated condition can be a collector's dream come true. So, after all that talk about rarity, errors, and high-grade condition, just how much could a 1950 Lincoln wheat penny be worth? Here it is, the big reveal. If you have an uncirculated 1950 D Lincoln wheat penny with a repunched mint mark, or a double die error, you could be looking at a coin worth up to $84,000. Yes, you heard that right, $84,000. That's the incredible potential value of one of these rare pennies, depending on its condition, minting errors, and market demand. Can you imagine stumbling upon a coin like that in your collection or even in your spare change? It's not just a penny, it's a piece of American history with the potential to change your life. So, if you have any 1950 Lincoln wheat pennies lying around, take a good look at them. Check for doubling on the date or mint mark, inspect the condition, and see if you might just have a hidden treasure on your hands. Whether you find one of these valuable era coins or just a standard issue penny, remember that the world of coin collecting is full of surprises. Who knows what rare gems are hiding in your collection, waiting to be discovered. Top 3, we're diving into one of the most iconic and potentially lucrative pennies you could ever come across, the 1957 Lincoln wheat penny. You might think, it's just a penny, but trust me, there's a lot more to this little copper coin than meets the eye. Let's travel back in time to the year 1957. This was a year of transition in the United States. The country was in the midst of a post-war boom, with families moving into suburban homes, the economy growing, and the civil rights movement gaining momentum. But here's the thing, while all of this was happening, the U.S. Mint was hard at work striking millions of coins, including the Lincoln wheat penny. Though this coin was minted in large numbers, it's important to understand that not all 1957 pennies are the same. Some are incredibly rare, valuable, and sought after by collectors, while others are relatively common. So, what makes the 1957 Lincoln wheat penny stand out in the world of numismatics? The first thing you need to know is that the Lincoln wheat penny design, which had been in circulation since 1909, was coming to an end. By 1959, the U.S. Mint would introduce the new Lincoln Memorial design, making the 1957 penny one of the final editions of the iconic wheat design. This already gives it a special place in history. But what truly makes certain 1957 pennies valuable to collectors isn't just their age or design, it's the errors and rarities that some of these coins feature. Let's dive into some of the most important factors that can make the 1957 Lincoln wheat penny worth a significant amount of money. The first and most exciting one is the double die error. For those of you who don't know, a double die occurs when the coin is struck more than once by the die, causing the design to appear slightly shifted, often doubling the letters or numbers on the coin. This type of error can occur in various areas of the coin, such as the date, the word liberty, or even, in God we trust. If you happen to find a 1957 penny with noticeable doubling, especially on the date or lettering, it could significantly increase the value of your coin. Collectors go wild for these rare error coins, and if the doubling is clear and sharp, you could be looking at a valuable prize in your collection. Next, let's talk about mint marks. Mint marks are small letters stamped onto coins to show which U.S. Mint produced them. For the 1957 Lincoln wheat penny, coins were struck in Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. Of course, the most common 1957 pennies you'll encounter will have no mint mark, but 1957 D and 1957 S pennies are also popular among collectors. While these pennies aren't necessarily rare by themselves, there are certain variations within the 1957 D and 1957 S series that make them worth more than others. In particular, the 1957 D with a repunched mint mark, RPM, is one to watch out for. This error happens when the mint mark is struck multiple times in slightly different positions, resulting in a double mint mark. These pennies are particularly attractive to collectors, and they can bring in a premium price if found in high-grade condition. Speaking of high-grade condition, if you happen to come across a 1957 Lincoln wheat penny that is in mint condition, with sharp details, a smooth surface, and no visible wear, it can be worth a small fortune. The rarity of coins in this pristine state is what drives their value. Over time, most of these pennies have been used and worn down through circulation, so a 1957 penny in flawless, uncirculated condition is a true treasure. Coins in uncirculated condition can fetch much higher prices than their circulated counterparts, and the demand for these well-preserved coins continues to grow as more collectors seek to add them to their collections. Now, let's talk about the special appeal of 1957 pennies in general. While not as rare as some other years in the Lincoln wheat penny series, the 1957 penny holds a unique spot in history as one of the last to feature the wheat design before the Lincoln Memorial was introduced. This gives it a nostalgic value for many collectors, as well as a certain historical significance. There's something about owning a coin that was minted during a transitional time in American history that adds to its charm. So, how much can you expect to make if you find a rare, error-free, or high-quality 1957 Lincoln wheat penny? The answer might surprise you. Some of the more common 1957 pennies are worth just a few cents or a couple of dollars, especially if they're in circulated condition. However, if you happen to come across a 1957 penny with double die errors, high-grade condition, or rare repunched mint marks, you could be looking at a coin worth far more. In fact, one of these pennies, in uncirculated condition with a rare error, could sell for up to $78,000, yes, that's right, $78,000 for a single 1957 penny. That's the incredible potential this small copper coin holds if you find the right one. So, next time you come across a 1957 Lincoln wheat penny, make sure to take a close look at its condition, mint mark, and any possible errors. It might just be the hidden gem that could make you a small fortune. Top 4, we're shining the spotlight on one of the most fascinating and often overlooked coins in U.S. history, the 1954 Lincoln wheat penny. While you might think a penny is just a penny, this little copper coin has a story to tell and a potential value that may just blow your mind. If you're a coin lover or collector, you're going to want to stick around for this one, because what we're about to uncover could be worth more than you ever imagined. The year 1954 may seem like a small blip in history, but it was actually a time of great change in the United States. The country was recovering from the turbulence of World War II and moving toward the modern age. The 1950s were an era of prosperity, with families growing and new technology emerging. Yet, as life was changing on the home front, the U.S. Mint was busy creating coins, including the now famous Lincoln wheat penny, which had been in circulation since 1909. By the time the 1954 penny rolled off the press, the wheat design had been in place for over 4 decades. But as we'll soon find out, not all 1954 pennies are created equal. So, what makes the 1954 Lincoln wheat penny stand out from all the other pennies? First, let's talk about rarity. While it's true that the 1954 penny was produced in huge numbers, more than 1 billion of them were struck at the Philadelphia Mint alone, that doesn't mean all 1954 pennies are easy to find in good condition. In fact, over the years, many of these pennies have been circulated extensively, showing signs of wear and tear. That means, if you come across a 1954 penny in excellent condition, you've already got a coin that's more valuable than the average one. Now, let's dive into some of the exciting errors that make the 1954 Lincoln wheat penny even more interesting for collectors. There are a few key error varieties that make this penny much more valuable, and it all starts with the double die. This error occurs when a coin is struck multiple times by the die, causing the design to appear slightly shifted or doubled. The most common areas to spot the doubling on a 1954 penny are the date and the word Liberty. A coin with clear doubling on the date, especially if it's on the 1954 part of the penny, is a rare find and could easily command a premium price. In addition to the double die error, you also need to keep an eye out for the repunched mint mark, RPM. Some 1954 pennies, particularly those minted in Denver, marked with a D, have been found with a repunched mint mark. This error happens when the mint mark is struck more than once, slightly overlapping each time. The result is a coin that has a double D mint mark, which is highly sought after by collectors. Finding one of these coins in great condition can significantly increase its value, but that's not all. The 1954 Lincoln wheat penny is also famous for high-grade examples. Many of these coins have been worn down over the years, losing much of their original detail. But if you happen to find a 1954 penny in mint state condition, you could be holding a gem. A coin in pristine, uncirculated condition with sharp details, smooth surfaces, and minimal wear is much rarer than you might think, and it's also much more valuable. The 1954 Lincoln wheat penny, while not as rare as some other years in the series, holds a unique place in the world of coin collecting due to its connection to American history. It was one of the final years of the Lincoln wheat design, and it's often seen as the last of a certain era in American numismatics. The nostalgia and historical value tied to this coin make it particularly appealing to collectors who love owning a piece of the past. So, what does this all mean for the value of a 1954 Lincoln wheat penny? Well, if you find one with a double die error, a repunched mint mark, or a coin in uncirculated condition, you could be sitting on a valuable treasure. And just how valuable are we talking? Well, in the world of coin collecting, rare and pristine 1954 pennies with the right errors have sold for incredible amounts of money. One such penny, in mint condition with a rare error, can fetch up to an astounding $79,000. Yes, that's right, $79,000 for a single 1954 Lincoln wheat penny. This might sound unbelievable, but it's a reality in the world of coin collecting. So, if you're lucky enough to come across a 1954 penny with these desirable characteristics, it could be worth much more than you ever imagined. Imagine checking your coin jar or going through your change and discovering that one penny you've overlooked for years is worth a small fortune. That's the magic of coin collecting. It's all about finding the hidden gems in the most unexpected places. So, if you're a collector or even someone who just enjoys browsing through old coins, take a closer look at those 1954 Lincoln wheat pennies. You never know when you might stumble upon a coin that could change your financial future. Keep an eye out for the key errors like the double die and repunched mint marks, and always check the condition of the coin. Top 5. We're about to uncover a gem from the world of numismatics that might just have you looking at pennies in a whole new way, the 1949 Lincoln wheat penny. This seemingly simple coin has an interesting backstory, but what makes it really stand out is the rarity and errors that some of these coins feature. Trust me, this is one video you'll want to watch until the end, because you won't believe what you could find hiding in your collection. Let's take a step back in time to 1949. The world was recovering from the aftermath of World War II, and the United States was entering a period of economic prosperity. The country was adjusting to a new way of life, with families moving to suburban homes, and consumer goods flooding the market. The 1949 Lincoln wheat penny was minted during this transitional time in American history. It was part of the series of pennies featuring the iconic image of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. The obverse side featured the familiar portrait of Lincoln, while the reverse showed the wheat stalks, a symbol of America's agricultural roots. At first glance, you might think that the 1949 Lincoln wheat penny is just another ordinary coin, but you'd be wrong. As with many coins from this era, there are rare variations and errors that make some 1949 pennies highly collectible and extremely valuable. One of the most important things to understand is that not all 1949 pennies are the same. The standard 1949 Lincoln wheat penny, especially in circulated condition, won't fetch you much more than its face value. However, things get interesting when you start considering certain rarities and errors that can increase the value of these coins dramatically. One of the most sought-after errors in the 1949 Lincoln wheat penny series is the double die variety. A double die error occurs when the coin die strikes the penny multiple times, causing the design to appear doubled or misaligned. This can occur anywhere on the coin, but the most noticeable place to look for doubling is on the date. If the numbers in 1949 appear with a doubled effect, it could make your penny worth much more than a typical coin from that year. The double die error is relatively rare, and it is always in demand by collectors because of its unique appearance and historical significance. In addition to the double die, another important feature to look for is the repunched mint mark, RPM. The mint mark on a coin shows where it was minted, and the 1949 Lincoln wheat penny was struck at multiple mints, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The 1949 Dpenny, struck in Denver, is particularly noteworthy for possible repunched mint marks. When a mint mark is struck more than once in a slightly different position, it creates a repunched mint mark error. This might be a subtle detail to spot, but for dedicated collectors, it's a real treasure. Coins with repunched mint marks are often highly valued because they represent a rare error during the minting process, making them even more collectible. Aside from these error coins, high-grade 1949 pennies are also valuable in their own right. Most 1949 pennies were used in daily circulation, so finding one in mint state condition is extremely rare. A coin in uncirculated condition, one that hasn't been worn down through years of handling, can fetch a pretty penny, pun intended. These coins, with their sharp details and perfect surfaces, are highly sought after by collectors. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin becomes. The 1949 Lincoln wheat penny is also significant because it represents the tail end of the wheat penny series, which lasted from 1909 to 1958. In 1959, the U.S. Mint replaced the wheat design with the Lincoln Memorial design, making the 1949 penny a part of the last generation of these iconic coins. This historical connection adds to its allure for many collectors, as it serves as a tangible link to the past. Now, you may be wondering, just how much can a 1949 Lincoln wheat penny be worth? Well, as you can imagine, the value of these coins varies depending on the condition, mint mark, and whether or not they feature any rare errors. A 1949 penny in mint state condition could be worth anywhere from a few dollars to hundreds of dollars, depending on the quality. But, if you happen to have a 1949 penny with a double die error, repunched mint mark, or in uncirculated condition, you're sitting on something much more valuable. In fact, a 1949 Lincoln wheat penny with the right characteristics could be worth up to an eye-popping $85,000. Yes, you heard that right, $85,000 for a single penny. It might sound unbelievable, but it's the reality for coin collectors who are hunting for these rare and valuable varieties. The market for error coins is incredibly strong, and finding one of these prized pennies could bring you a small fortune. So, what should you do if you think you found a rare 1949 Lincoln wheat penny? First, take a close look at the date, check for any doubling. Then, examine the mint mark for any signs of being repunched. And, of course, don't forget to check the overall condition of the coin. If it looks like it's in great shape and shows little wear, it's definitely worth getting professionally graded to determine its true value. Top 6, we're diving into the world of one of the most iconic coins in American history, the 1952 Lincoln wheat penny. It may seem like just another penny at first glance, but trust me, this little coin has a lot of hidden potential that could make it worth more than you ever imagined. So, whether you're a seasoned coin collector or just a curious hobbyist, stick around, because you might just have a treasure in your collection without even knowing it. Let's take a step back to the year 1952. The United States was in the middle of the post-World War II era, a time of major change and growth. The economy was booming, and everyday life was rapidly modernizing. Meanwhile, the U.S. Mint was busy striking coins like the Lincoln wheat penny, a series that had been circulating since 1909. The penny featured the iconic image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and two stalks of wheat on the reverse, symbolizing the nation's agricultural roots. But what really sets the 1952 Lincoln wheat penny apart from the rest is the rarity of certain versions and the errors that some of these coins carry. While the 1952 penny was minted in large numbers, making them relatively easy to find, certain varieties and conditions can make this penny highly desirable to collectors. Let's break down what makes the 1952 Lincoln wheat penny a coin worth paying attention to. First, the condition of the coin plays a huge role in determining its value. Most 1952 pennies that have been circulating for decades show signs of wear and tear, which reduces their value. However, if you're lucky enough to find a 1952 Lincoln wheat penny in uncirculated condition, you're in for a real treat. A coin that has never been used in circulation, still showing sharp details and a flawless finish, is much rarer than you might think. These high-quality, uncirculated coins are always in demand, and they can fetch a much higher price than a typical, worn-out penny. Now, let's get to the really exciting part: errors. The 1952 Lincoln wheat penny is not immune to the types of minting errors that make coins even more valuable to collectors. One of the most notable errors to watch out for in 1952 pennies is the double die. If you've ever heard the term double die before, it refers to an error that happens when the coin's design is struck more than once, causing some elements of the coin to appear doubled. The most common place to spot this on the 1952 penny is on the date or the word Liberty. If the 1952 date looks like it's been stamped twice, that's a clear indication of a double die error, and that's exactly what collectors are searching for. Double die errors are rare, and if you happen to find one on a 1952 Lincoln wheat penny, you could be looking at a coin with a significantly higher value than the average penny. This kind of error adds an extra layer of uniqueness to the coin, making it highly collectible. Another error to look for is the repunched mint mark, RPM, which occurs when the mint mark, often D for Denver or S for San Francisco, is struck more than once in slightly different positions. These repunched mint marks are quite fascinating because they show a flaw in the minting process that only the most observant collectors can spot. The 1952 Dpenny is the most likely candidate for this kind of error, where the D mint mark might appear doubled or even tripled. If you find a repunched mint mark on a 1952 penny, hold on to it. Those coins are highly sought after by collectors and can fetch a pretty penny in the market. Apart from the doubled die and repunched mint marks, there are also coins that feature die cracks or lamination errors. These defects occur during the minting process, and while they might seem like imperfections to some, they can actually add significant value to a coin. A die crack is when a crack develops in the die used to strike the coin, leaving a raised line or crack on the coin's surface. Lamination errors happen when there's a flaw in the metal used to make the coin, causing parts of the coin's surface to peel or separate. These types of errors are less common, but they are highly prized by collectors who love owning rare and unusual pieces. So, what does all this mean for the value of the 1952 Lincoln wheat penny? Well, in general, most 1952 pennies are relatively affordable and don't carry a huge premium. However, if you have a 1952 penny with a double die error, repunched mint mark, or a coin in mint state condition, you could be looking at a substantial increase in value. The rarity of a high-grade or error coin can drive its price up significantly. Now, to get to the big reveal, just how much could a 1952 Lincoln wheat penny be worth? If you have a 1952 penny with a unique error, or in uncirculated condition, you could be sitting on a potential treasure worth as much as $80,000. That's right, $80,000 for a single penny. It might sound unbelievable, but that's the value a rare, high-grade or error coin can command in the right market. Coin collecting can sometimes feel like a treasure hunt, and with a coin like the 1952 Lincoln wheat penny, you could stumble upon a true gem. So, if you've been collecting for a while, or if you just found an old jar of pennies in the attic, make sure to take a closer look at any 1952 Lincoln wheat pennies you come across. A little research and a keen eye could uncover a coin worth thousands. Top 7 and last unique coin. We have a real treat for you as we dive into the fascinating world of one of the most sought-after coins in U.S. history, the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny. You might think of pennies as just pocket change, but let me tell you, this little coin is far from ordinary. In fact, depending on its condition and certain rare errors, a 1945 Lincoln wheat penny could be worth far more than you might expect. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why this coin is worth so much and how you could possibly find one of these hidden treasures yourself. Now, let's set the stage. The year 1945 was a pivotal moment in history. The world was finally recovering from the devastation of World War II, and the United States was beginning to emerge as a global superpower. The economy was gearing up for a post-war boom, and everyday Americans were feeling the impact. The U.S. Mint was busy producing coins for a nation in transition, including the Lincoln wheat penny, a coin that had been in circulation since 1909 and was designed by Victor David Brenner. The wheat penny, with its depiction of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and 2 stalks of wheat on the reverse, has long been a symbol of the nation's agricultural history, but let's focus on the 1945 version of this classic coin. Although millions of these pennies were minted that year, the rarity and value come into play when you consider specific factors like condition, errors, and special variants. So, let's break it down and see what makes this particular penny so special. First, let's talk about condition. As with any coin, the better the condition, the higher the potential value. Most of the 1945 Lincoln wheat pennies you'll come across are in circulated condition. They've been used in everyday transactions, which means they have wear and tear from being in people's pockets and circulating through commerce. These coins, while still valuable as part of the series, don't carry the same price tag as a coin in mint condition. Now, here's where things start to get really interesting: error coins. These are the hidden gems that can make a 1945 Lincoln wheat penny worth much more than its face value. One of the most famous types of errors to look for is the double die. This happens when the coin's design is struck more than once by the die, creating a double image. In the case of the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny, the most common place to spot a double die error is on the date or the word Liberty. If you notice that the numbers in the date, 1945, appear to be doubled, or if Liberty has a slightly blurry or doubled appearance, you might just be looking at a coin worth far more than just 1 cent. Another error that could make your 1945 penny valuable is the repunched mint mark, RPM. The mint mark indicates where the coin was struck, and for the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny, the most common mint marks are D for the Denver Mint and S for the San Francisco Mint. A repunched mint mark occurs when the mint mark is struck multiple times in slightly different positions, causing it to appear doubled or misaligned. If you have a 1945 penny with a repunched mint mark, you've found a rare treasure that collectors will pay top dollar for, but that's not all. Some of the 1945 Lincoln wheat pennies have die cracks or die clashes, which occur when the coin's die is damaged during the minting process. A die crack is a line or crack that appears on the coin's surface, while a die clash occurs when two dies strike each other without a coin in between, leaving a design imprint on the coin. These errors are less common but highly collectible, making them a valuable addition to any collection. Now, let's talk about how these rare versions of the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny translate to real money. While a regular 1945 Lincoln wheat penny in circulated condition will typically be worth only a few cents, the value skyrockets when you're dealing with coins that have high-grade quality or errors. A mint-state 1945 penny, or one with rare errors, can easily fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on the specific details and condition. So, what's the top dollar value for a 1945 Lincoln wheat penny? If you have a penny in near-perfect, uncirculated condition or one that features a double die error or repunched mint mark, you could be looking at a potential value of $88,000. Yes, you heard that right, $88,000. Imagine finding a single penny worth that much. It might sound unbelievable, but for the right coin, collectors are willing to pay top dollar for these rare and historically significant pieces. To give you a better idea of the rarity, coins with these errors or high-grade examples are highly sought after by serious collectors. And the best part? These pennies could be hiding in plain sight, tucked away in your old coin collection, a jar of loose change, or even in a family heirloom collection that's been passed down through generations. If you happen to come across a 1945 Lincoln wheat penny, take the time to carefully inspect it. Look for any signs of doubling, check the mint mark, and assess the overall condition. You never know, you might just have a valuable coin in your hands without even realizing it. If you do find one of these rare pennies, you could be sitting on a small fortune. Thank you for joining us today as we explored the incredible value of the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about rare coins, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell so you never miss a new discovery. Who knows what hidden treasures you'll find next? Until then, happy collecting, and keep searching, you might just have the next big coin worth thousands.